Now, that was the first thing I wanted to discuss, me having 100 subscribers. Now, something more important that I needed to talk about, it relates to Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain. I've made 2 videos recently giving my thoughts on Restore Britain, and the most recent one was about Henry Nowak, the Henry Nowak killing by Vikram Digwa. It occurred to me recently, well, it's occurred to me for quite a while, that big things are happening in this country right now. We may well be on the cusp of a significant sweeping political change. And for too long, mainly due to financial circumstances, but also due to apathy, I've scrolled across it on my Twitter timeline and on YouTube. I've seen the developments take place. I've watched new movements come and go, like the Unite the Kingdom protest, the one that happened last year and this one. And and when Rupert Lowe announced that he was launching his own party, and then of course the National Council elections in Great Yarmouth. But up until now, I just didn't want to get involved because I convinced myself the revolution doesn't really need someone like me. Like, with or without me, the problems of this country will fix themselves. My views and my actions as an individual aren't significant enough to matter. And I'm sure lots of people feel like that, especially people when they're depressed, because you can have intense views about how the world ought to be, but if you feel atomized, if you feel estranged from every other person and small and insignificant, you might not bother to campaign for change, because what's the point? But recently, it occurred to me, I can't remember what the spark was that set it off. But actually, no, I'll tell you what it was. It was when I read the news about the council elections, and when I read that Restore Britain had won every single seat by a significant margin. And then the news of the Makerfield by-election came about, and how Andy Burnham's going to be running for a chance to oust Starmer as the next Prime Minister. And then Restore Britain announced that they were going to be fielding a candidate there. And for quite some time, I wasn't sure what to make of this, because Reform are also campaigning in Makerfield. And so far as the official polling data goes, it seems that Reform have most likely got this one in the bag. But I've been thinking it over more and more. There is widespread grassroots support for Restore Britain and Rupert Lowe. And it's mainly because of who he is, who Rupert Lowe is, and what he's doing. I've said this before, Restore Britain is the political vehicle of Rupert Lowe, and Rupert Lowe alone, he is a world of difference apart from every other member of Parliament in the House of Commons. Because of the things he's done, because of what he believes, because of what he unapologetically stands for, because of his rape gang inquiry, the results for which are going to be made public any day now, and because of the sheer momentum he has online. I've never seen anything like it. And I've said, I don't know if I said this before, I think that the candidate for Makerfield isn't necessarily that impressive. She seems like a lovely lady. She seems very charming, but she doesn't seem the most polished in terms of how a political candidate would present oneself. Like, she once gave a speech about how she joined Restore Britain because she was really happy. She was really pleased with one of their policy papers, but then when asked, she couldn't remember which one it was. It's like, you know, I think we're done with politics in an age of careerists. People who can give fluid and articulate answers, which are also evasive and trained not to elicit a negative reaction from any one particular group. These kinds of people are the most dangerous, and these are the ones who dominate Westminster now, and I would argue The very reason we're in this mess is because of that. I think we need to see more real people who are often sometimes clumsy and tongue-tied. And, I've got nothing against Robert Kenyon. He doesn't seem like a bad choice either. But the big problem is, the defining difference, though, is the party machine that Robert Kenyon represents. Rupert Lowe, he has the mandate of heaven. I used to believe that Nigel Farage and reform, I used to believe that Nigel Farage was the answer and that reform would take over this country and turn things around. But the events that we've seen in the last year or so have completely disabused me of that notion. Nigel Farage keeps adding Tory defectors into his shadow cabinet. Not just any Tory defectors, the very same Tory apparatchiks, the very same Tory cabinet ministers who ruined everything in the first place, like Robert Jenrick and Nadine Dorris and Nadeem Zahawi and Suella Braverman. And people like Matthew Goodwin, who, for those who aren't aware, Matthew Goodwin, he used to be a leftist. He used to be an academic who worked with Hope Not Hate. And I think the defeat that Matthew Goodwin received in the Gorton and Denton by-election is evidence that the public just aren't warm to reforms. Reform are just coming off as kind of desperate, like they're taking on all the wrong people to join their party to artificially bolster their numbers. It's nakedly cynical, and I don't think that it's working. I think Reform's membership and Reform's support, their electoral support peaked sometime in, was it August or, no, October or November of last year, and it's been steadily waning ever since. Rupert Lowe, on the other hand, there's no evidence to say that his support is dwindling. The evidence seems to suggest that Nigel Farage's supporters are ditching Reform in droves and moving over to Restore because he's the real thing. He's the real deal. And I know that the official polling data says that Restore only stand to win 4 to 5% of the votes. Some have revised upwards of saying 8 or 9%, and that we're only going to be splitting the vote up there. But I'm not so sure now, because I keep consistently hearing from Restore Britain candidates. I keep hearing the same thing. I keep hearing them all say in unison that the real numbers, the real amount of people who support Restore Britain up in Makerfield is much higher than the official polls suggest they are. And Rupert Lowe, by the way, he seems 100% certain that we can win. He's been very clear about this. He hasn't said we're going to shake things up or we're going to teach Reform a lesson, or we're going to steal Reform's votes. He's been saying this again and again. We're going to win. And that just brings to mind two possibilities. On the one hand, Rupert Lowe could be completely delusional and out of his mind. He could be misinterpreting the situation, which is what many other right-wing politicos have been saying over the internet. The evidence does seem to suggest that this may be the case. Or there's the alternative possibility that he knows something about the Makerfield constituency and the on-the-ground situation there that the rest of us don't. And look, I'm not saying that this is certain. I'm not saying this is a given, that this is guaranteed to happen. But my God, if Restore Britain wins the Makerfield by-election, if Restore comes in and snatches that seat, my goodness, my God, it will be all over the news. You will never hear the end of it. Because Restore Britain weren't even invited to appear on BBC Question Time. Rupert Lowe wasn't given the opportunity to appear on BBC Question Time. Or his Makerfield candidate, Rebecca Shepherd, neither of them were shown. Everyone was given a seat on the panel except Restore Britain. And this is in spite of the fact that even the official polling data suggests that Restore Britain are polling higher support numbers than the Lib Dems and the Greens. But they were given a seat in the panel. Why not us? Why not Restore? Doesn't it make you wonder that maybe the establishment too are slightly rattled by what Restore Britain could accomplish? Who knows? Anything can happen. And anyway, that is why I have embarked upon the unthinkable decision. I am going to go all the way up to Wigan by train, by catamaran, and by a system of trains. And this weekend, Friday the 12th to Sunday the 14th, I am going to be campaigning in Makerfield. I'm going to go all the way up to Wigan. I've got an Airbnb booked there for the weekend, and I am going to be delivering leaflets. I'm going to be speaking with voters on the ground because, first of all, I want to know what the situation on the ground is really like. I want to see the evidence with my own eyes and see if the naysayers are right or if they're wrong, and see if Rupert Lowe's got his finger on the pulse. And if there's a chance that we can win Makerfield, if there is a chance that we can pull off this historic upset, then I want to be there in the confidence and pride of knowing that I made it happen. I don't care how long I have to travel. The distance, by the way, between where I live and Wigan is, I think last I measured, it's 250 something or so miles. That's a pretty long journey. But look, we've all got political views or social causes that we're deeply passionate about, haven't we? Haven't you got something that you would willingly travel hundreds of miles across the country to support, that you believe in? And yes, I've spent over 200 quid on this journey, on the preparation for this journey. I'm probably going to be, my credit card debt is going to get worse thanks to this. But I feel like I don't have a choice. I have to do this. My conscience will not let me rest. I have to commit myself to this cause because I feel that this is our moment. This is our I'm trying to think. Is there some sort of historical analog? This is our Waterloo. We have to pull this off. And we might pull this off. We might not pull this off, but you never know until you give it a go. And that's why I'm going for it. Anyway, I've got to start my shift now. This has been Tracking. Thanks for the 100 subscribers. I greatly appreciate your support and expect more to come. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Take care, everyone.